Recording. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to episode 2 of the Matty Media Cast with me, Matty B, and my beautiful co-host to my right-hand side right here is Mr. Matty J.
Hello, everyone.
Get this man a tripod.
A different
Yeah.
view this week. You can actually see me now.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I'm here.
I like it. I'm liking the setup. We're looking sleek. We're looking beautiful, as
What you like to
always.
see. What you like to see.
This week we've got something different from last week. Obviously, last week we spoke about our favourite games of all different consoles. Today we set ourselves a challenge this week. Each of us chose a movie we wanted the other person to review. So, Matty, do you want to go first?
Yeah, go on. I'll go
Okay.
first.
Okay. Right. Far away, son.
So I was set the challenge to, well, it wasn't really a challenge. I was set a film that I'd never seen before. As Matty said, we've never seen these films, and we recommended each other a film. My film was Patch Adams, which is a film that was made by Universal Studios. I'll get the name of the the director. Obviously, I'll not go straight into my review because it's pointless. What I'll do is I'll give you like a plot of what the film is sort of about. I'll try to explain it as good as I can. I have got some notes in the background that I will read out. If you do see the camera go off, it's purely because that I'm looking at my notes to like back up my conversation and my words. So where do we start? The camera's going off straight away, so I can get my notes. 2 seconds, guys. It's not going very well for me straight away. 2 seconds.
Matt, you could have just thrown it to me, but I will.
Yeah. Right, okay, so obviously, as mentioned previously, the movie was created by Universal Studios. It was released on the 25th of December, so what a good film to have released on Christmas Day. Yeah? It was released on the 25th of December, 1998. An interesting fact, I was actually born 1 month and a day later after that date. So yeah. So where do I start? The film itself is sorry. The film itself is such an emotion-written film. Like there's like so many mixes of emotions within the film that like literally gets pushed towards you. Like it plays with your mind in the aspect that it makes you feel happy, it makes you feel sad. It literally, in general, it just literally feels like the film has like attacked attacked your feelings. It's like that's basically what it's like. It's as if it's like I'm back in the room. It's as if it makes you happy and it like makes you really sad because like it was it's good film. It's good film. I want to Matty'll do the. I think Matt'll do the same as well. I just wanted to give everyone a disclaimer. If you've not seen the film yourself, get ready to close your ears because I'm about to give you a hell of a spoiler. So the basic plot of the film is it's based on a guy called Patch Adams, and he at the start of the film he's struggling within himself and he attempts to commit suicide. He fortunately feels it and he admits himself to the medical institute for mental health and stuff like that. He sends himself there. He gets there, and it's a bit of a rough start for him, to be honest. He gets there, he has no idea what's going on. He's looking around at the people and thinking he probably shouldn't be there because he's nothing like everyone else. Um, and when he admits himself, he gets a walk around the whole entire medical institute. He gets shown his room. He gets shown all the different patients, that sort of thing. And eventually gets to his room, and he meets a guy called Rudy, which is a guy who has, what's the way of saying it? He has visions of evil squirrels. Literally evil squirrels. The shocker of everything. The weird. It shocked me. Evil squirrels.
I suppose it's the standard in a mental institution.
Yeah, exactly.
Weird
Exactly.
things.
So he's there for over a couple of months. The medical board, well, not the medical board, like the medical institute holds like meetings every so often to see how everyone's coping in themselves. And basically, I'll just call him Patch. Patch is it. And if you're wondering, Patch Adams is played by Robin Williams, fantastic actor. And like I say, they hold a meeting every so often, and they're in a room. No, they're in a Patch Adams' room, and there's three of us. There's Rudy and two other people. I've forgotten their names. I know I'm slacking. Who holds a meeting, and there's this one guy with a disability. He can't speak, and he's literally frozen shut. He can't move, and he's got his arms stuck in the air. His arms literally stuck right in the air. And so Patch starts to make fun of them. He starts like pointing at you, screwing this up, pointing out jokes to him. One of the ones is he looks at him and he goes, "Oh, where's he pointing to? The sky?" And his hands are just literally just like pointing right in the air. And he sparks like interest of the other patients. He gets them laughing. He makes them laugh a lot, which shocks him. He didn't expect to make them laugh, but he continued. He kept continuing to make them laugh, and in the end, he eventually like evict everyone out of the room because the head of the medical institute doesn't like that he's making everyone laugh. And so further on to that conversation, one night they're sitting in the bedrooms, Rudy and Patch. Rudy is bursting for the toilet. Really needs to go to the toilet, but he can't because there's these imaginative squirrels on the floor that want to kill him. And Patch looks at him as he would, looks at him weirdly and has no idea what to do. And then it sparks something in Patch's mind. He forms some form of like skit, if you will, where they're fighting against these squirrels, and they all manage to kill the squirrels. Him and Rudy, they kill the squirrels, and he's finally able to go to the toilet. It's a weird one. I know it's a massively weird one.
The only way I could help explain that is like, it's as if you would play with like a 4-year-old. You know what I mean? Like in the situation, look, there's a dinosaur coming, and you'd pretend that, oh god, there's a dinosaur, run away, whatever. It's literally, that's like the kind of situation it was. He pretended he could see them as well. Yeah. And like he was throwing pillows and shit across the room and everything.
They stood the bed up and used that as like a sort of wall.
As a barrier, like, and he pretended he had a bazooka, didn't he, at one point, and everything. And then Rudy finally just legs it to the toilet.
And Patch is just listening at the door, and he looks very happy when he's accomplished it. But yeah, that's where the film really begins. You get more of an understanding of what the film is sort of about. Obviously, you don't get to know it truly until it carries on throughout the rest of the film. But in the middle of it, it forwards on to, I think it's about 2 or 3 years later. I think it's 2. And Patch is in a medical school. He gets partnered up with 4 different people, I think it is. It is Truman, Karen, Mitch, and there's Truman, Karen, Mitch, and there's one other, isn't there? Or is that them all?
I can't help it, to be honest.
Well, yeah, I'm sure you'll research it anyways. But there's them characters, and they get plotted up together. sort of thing, and they're working as like a group to like, as any uni students would, they work as a group to like get like a specific work done. They study together and what have you. And the easiest way to say it is Patch wants to make everyone happy. That's literally what it is. It's literally Patch making everyone happy. And I'm jumbling everything up. Sorry to everyone who's watching this on YouTube and thinking, "Oh God." But yeah, right, back to it. So basically, they all become friends. Mitch isn't a bit keen on Patch. He doesn't really like him. To be fair, if I'm honest, yeah, he doesn't really like him.
He sees him as a bit of a joke, doesn't he?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
Patch is like
really
he
smart.
believes that laughter's the medicine kind of thing. So
Yeah,
he's like a bit of a goofball, isn't he? That's I think
yeah,
the best way
exactly.
to explain it.
Because he makes a joke out of everything, out of everything. Um, he's always trying to make people laugh, and like as Matt said there, he thinks the key to medicine is making people laugh, and so like I say, he befriends these people, um, and the whole story is just he's trying to impress Karen. He becomes really good friends with Truman, and he goes back to the medical institute. Isn't it the medical institute he wasn't at the start? I think it was. I'm sure it was. Um, it looks like I've not done much research, everyone. I promise I watched it. I promise. I swear. Um, yeah, he goes back to the. I'll just say the hospital as he will. He goes back to the hospital because he's on training. He's a student. He's like a medical student, and he's learning medicine, um, within that hospital. And he sees the head of the last institute at this hospital. He sees him, and the bloke remembers him. Um, I've just remembered. I've left a crucial part out. It's not going very well, is this? Is it?
So let's keep rolling, son. Yeah, you've got it.
I'll take a couple of steps back. So when he's actually in the medical institute, he medically withdraws himself. He discharges himself because by law, if you admit yourself to hospital, like a mental institute, if you admit yourself there, you can discharge yourself as well. You don't need like the hospital's permission to leave. Well, no one ever needs the hospital's permission to leave, but the head of the place tries to get him to stay, but well, no, Patch leaves. Patch leaves and goes on to become a medical student, to learn medicine. And as mentioned, he thinks the best practice for medicine is making people laugh. It starts off when he gets into the hospital. He sees like a room full of like dying children. I would say, or children with illnesses, and it stumps him because there's silence in the entire room. Like this is what I love about the film. Like it does play with your emotions. Like it's all happy, like when he's like making Rudy laugh and things like that, and then it draws on to a scene where, like I mentioned, he sees like rows of kids just sat there, not communicating whatsoever, and just looks as sad as they. And he goes into the room, looks around, and you can tell he's just thinking in his head what's going on. Takes a left, and there's some like medical equipment. There's like this, like the pipette things, like where you can squeeze it, it sucks up the water, sort of thing. Well, it's got like the squeezy bit, and he cuts it off with the scissors, and he puts it on his nose. He makes himself look like a clown, and he turns around to this young little girl, and looks at her, and just makes her laugh, and that sets one off, and then he starts to be stupid, he puts the bedpans on his feet and he starts sliding around the room and tripping up, and everyone starts joining in, and then he starts singing. Oh, it's fantastic, it's fantastic. But yeah, like I say, the head of institute comes in and questions him on what he's doing, and explains to him that he's not allowed to interact with patients until the third year of his sort of training thing. Um, and Patch doesn't like that. Patch doesn't listen to anyone. Like that's one of the things. Not only does he, but quite a lot of the characters like say it in the film. They say that he's the sort of person who doesn't favor everyone else's decision over his. Like his decision's better because it works better, sort of thing. If that makes sense. Um, he doesn't agree with the head, thinking that he shouldn't be allowed to interact with him, and he thinks that the head thinks that no one should interact at all. Like he just thinks that they shouldn't be making them laugh. One of the things he says. He says you're a doctor, and that's what you had to do. You had to be a doctor, not to be a clown. And Patch shrugs that off straight away. And it goes on to multiple different scenes where he sees all sorts of different people, and he tries to get everyone to laugh. And there's one guy, and you'll remember this, Matt. There's this one guy in one room that is horrible. He's just so horrible. He's dying. He's dying of cancer, and he's just got no. What's the way of saying it? He's just got no interest in anyone. Yeah. Anyone who goes into his room gets shouted at, sort of thing.
Yeah, all the nurses avoid him, don't they?
Yeah. The nurses warned him not to go into the bedroom because of what he's like, and as stated before, Patch doesn't listen. Patch goes in, and Patch tries to make him laugh. He starts singing a song, and then he's like pressing on his toes, and the guy in the bed like points his finger at him and tells him to come here, and the bloke grabs him by the neck. He just starts screaming at him, and then Patch walks out the room, looks at the nurses and smiles and walks away. It's hilarious. It's hilarious.
Can I just add a key point? I don't know if you're gonna say it at any point, but the head doctor, obviously, who's like in head of the school. Obviously, Patch's problem with him is that he refers to the patients as numbers, or that's bed 1, bed 2. He doesn't refer to them as people. Patch's problem is that no, everyone's got a name, everyone's got their own story. Treat them like people. That was his main thing, and obviously the head doctors didn't like that.
Yeah, exactly. I appreciate this backup. Massively appreciate it. I'll be able to back you up with yours as well if I have to. But yeah, like that being said, like Patch really doesn't get along with him, does he? Patch just doesn't get along with him. And I think what mainly gets the head is the fact that he's not following him by the head's rules. Like, as I mentioned, Patch does what he wants. He does what he thinks is best, sort of thing. And yeah, he just tries to improve the living of like the people who haven't got long left, sort of will.
Yeah. He kind of sets his own challenge.
You know what I mean.
He sets his own challenge to at least make this. I can't remember the character's name, but the guy with cancer. He sets it his challenge to make him smile at some point, doesn't he? Or make him laugh.
Exactly. He makes it his own goal to like provide some form of happiness before like the man passes. So yeah, getting back to it, I'll further on as well. So with this friendship group, Mitch doesn't like him. Mitch sees him as someone who faffs around, and there's one key section within the film where Mitch actually goes to the head of the hospital and complains about him, purely because of the fact that Mitch has not done much, like revision. Is it's not called revision over there. Like he's not done much studying. Is the word I was looking for. In and Patch sort of knows this sort of thing already. Um. So yeah, he sees him as a threat. I would say he sees him as Matt said. He sees him as someone who's just there to joke around, and he's not taking the medicine seriously. There's one section in the film where they're arguing with each other, and Mitch starts ranting and raving about how he's been practicing for this for all his life, and sort of this sort of thing.
Mm.
And Patch just loses it. Just
He's,
explains
he
that.
gets miffed, doesn't he? Because Patch does really good in a test.
Yeah,
In like
Patch gets
in an exam, he gets like top score or something, and he did
gets
no
like,
studying at all for it. And that's
exactly.
what thing he's miffed about.
He gets like 98%, and he thinks because he's not done much studying that he's cheating. He thinks that he's cheated on the exams and stuff because he's done very little studying. But obviously, Patch, being the person that he is, he's done a lot of research himself before even getting into this position. And then moving on to another character, we've got Karen. Karen is the lady who's a part of his friendship group. And Karen's a bit of the same as Mitch. She doesn't get on with him at first. She doesn't really like his ways. She thinks he's childish. And then throughout the entire film, he's trying to impress her, sort of thing. He's trying to get like round to her and explain to her that laughter is the key to happiness. And as Mitch doesn't like it, and as the head doesn't like it, she thinks it's a stupid thing. She thinks that he should be just following the practice the way that the hospital has set it out. But eventually, she does get along with him. She does eventually get along with him. But it took some work. It took some work for him to get along with her. Just watching it, I just kept my fingers crossed that he kept moving to her to like impress her, sort of thing. And yeah, they end up becoming together. They end up getting together. Which I hope he's already for the sad bit, because it's a very sad bit coming up indeed. This is what I meant when it's a mix of emotions. I'm not going to jump straight into that because I haven't really explained it to the fulfill that I need to.
Formula 95 with a host. Go on, son. Sorry, mate.
It's all right, mate. Yeah. So obviously, that being said, Patch just wants to make people happy. That's his main goal. You see, as I mentioned, he wants medicine to be like a name for people, not, as you mentioned, not like bed 1, bed 2. He wants to know their names. He wants to like impact their lives before the past, sort of thing. Like with the guy who died. He just wants to improve the living of the sick. I think that's what he says in the film, actually. He wants to improve the living of the sick. So yeah. I'm trying to figure out where to go now.
There's one key part that happened in the story that you haven't said yet.
Oh, I want to mention about what he opens up and what have you.
Yeah, I think that's like next, basically, isn't it? Obviously, that happens before a certain other thing happens.
Yeah. Trying to think the best way to explain it for all you lovely people. Make myself sound like I've not watched it, but I actually have. So, obviously, he gets along with her, and then he finally gets somewhere with her. He finally, like, shows her that he's not crazy with what he says. He shows her that making people happy in a hospital is like a good like source of medicine. And going back to it, the head tries to get him kicked out. The head just wants him gone. The head sees him as someone who's being really stupid, and he tries his hardest to get him kicked out, but it just does not work at all. Um, he disregarded what everyone said about not interacting with patients until level 3. He disregards it all, and he ignores the wishes of like the head of like the hospital. And it gets to the point where the head tries to dismiss his application, like he doesn't want him to graduate, and he takes him to court. The guy takes him to court, tries to get him kicked out, just doesn't work at all. He proves to everyone that having meaning and having an impact on someone's life during the stages of passing away can make a big impact on like the happiness within side of a hospital. Because as everyone knows, a hospital is quite dwelling and quite horrible. Nobody really likes it. I don't think I've ever met anyone who likes a hospital. Yeah, he just shows everyone that that's key. And there's one section in the film where he opens up his own hospital because he's sick of the bills. He's sick of people having to pay for medical bills and for all the excesses that Americans have to pay for in the hospital. He hates that. He hates the fact that he doesn't know who his patients are, and he finally meets his he finally goes somewhere and makes like a hospital for people to come that haven't got money or can't afford the expenses that are required to get your treatment. He makes this hospital, and the numbers rise. He's got loads of medicine to treat people, and there's loads of different. He makes like loads of different beds within the house to like cater for everyone who has to come to hospital. He does that.
Can I just tell you what it's called?
Yeah.
The hospital. It's called the Gesundheit Institute.
That's the one. That's the one. I should have planned this a lot more.
It's the first one, Matty. It's the first one we've done. So
it's practice exactly. As I don't know if we mentioned at the start, we'll have this all written down, and I can promise you I'll make it a lot better than what I've portrayed it out to be now. But yeah, makes a hospital for everyone, and it caters everyone. And I don't want to mention this yet, but I feel like it's necessary for the story, even though I haven't explained it to the fullest. And I'm sure Matty, you'll help us at any point during this, so you have to back me up. There's one section where a guy comes into the hospital, and Patch isn't one of the sort of types to look at someone and judge them straight away. He doesn't think anything's wrong with anyone, if that makes sense. This guy comes in. I think he's called Michael. I think so. I think he's called Mike, whatever he's called. He comes in and he explains to them that he's not feeling himself. And Karen warns Patch that she gets a weird vibe off him. Patch disregards it and tries to help, lets him in. And yeah, he's a schizophrenic. And one night when Karen comes back, she clicks the voicemail, and there's a voicemail from, I'll just call him Mike. There's a voicemail from Mike saying that he needs someone to come over to his house because he's not feeling like who he is anymore, sort of thing. If that makes sense. And she hesitates because, as mentioned before, she was a bit concerned when he first arrived, and she got bad vibes off him. So her being the caring person that she is because of her status of being a training doctor, goes over to his house to try and help. And here comes the
Sorry, the Gandalf's rocking. Sorry, the Gandalf was rocking really inappropriate time. The Spunky Monkey, thank you for the follow, mate. I appreciate that.
Oh my god. Oh no. Yep.
Inappropriate timing.
And yeah, she goes over, being the caring person that she is, to try and help him. She gets there. The guy says, "Oh, can I have your coat?" She takes her coat off, and yep, he goes into the cupboard and puts the coat away, and then the screen goes black. Pat gets called into the office the next day, and he thinks he's getting kicked out again. And yeah, he gets told that she was brutally murdered with a shotgun when she went over. So she went to Mike's house to try and help, and she's come out the worst of it and got shot. And she unfortunately passed away. That then stumps Patch. He doesn't think that helping anyone's necessary. He doesn't think that improving, making people happy is worth it. And he blames himself for the mistake of her being shot. He does, doesn't he? He blames himself.
Yeah, he felt like he should have been the one that was there. But also, just to note that the guy that actually killed her killed himself as well. He didn't just kill her. He shot her, then shot himself.
Yeah. And that being said, with him blaming himself, he then falls into like a pit of despair, and he becomes madly depressed again, and he tries to commit suicide again, and then he just has a strong word with God, looks up at the air and just screams at him, and just asks for a sign to help him to go on, and a butterfly flies onto him, and then it's all swell from there. He becomes happier. And this is where it comes back to the court case with him getting kicked out. This is where Mitch actually becomes nice again. He asks Mitch for his help of how he can get out of it. And Mitch helps him. And Mitch helps him. And he gets out of it. He shows everyone why making people happy is the key, rather than just it being a face of medicine or a name of bed 1, 2, and 3, etc. He finally proves to everyone. So yeah, that isn't the best of descriptions. I am very aware, everyone. As Matt mentioned, it is my first time doing this sort of thing, so I didn't want to keep going. I have got my notes right here in front of me on my phone, but the more I keep pushing up to go and have a look at my notes, the more the camera cuts off, and I don't want that. Do you want to further on to any more of it? Because you've told me you've seen it more than I have, and that's yeah.
I think one of the main points is the fact that this whole film is based on a true story. It did actually happen. He's still alive today. His real name is Hunter Adams. But he was given the nickname Patch by one of the other patients in the mental institution, wasn't he?
Oh, wasn't he given the name Patch from the head?
No, there was one of the patients in there. He had a cup of water and it kept leaking, and Hunter got a little bit of tape, didn't he, and put a patch on it. So that's why he called him Patch, and forever since then he called himself Patch Adams. But yeah. It really happened. The Gesundheit Institute is still around today. It's still a free hospital in America, which I know is helpful to people, and it would have his doctors dress up as clowns and everything and just entertain people. It's crazy.
Now for the better description of a film. Go on, Matt.
So, hang on, first, what's your rating out of 5?
Oh, yes, that's right. I need to review it, man. Oh, I'm slacking. This is to everyone, and I mean physically everyone watching this. If you've not seen it, I truly recommend it. I know from the description that I've given, it wasn't a massively good one, but I can highly recommend it. That being said, I will warn you, as I mentioned at the start, it is a very mix of emotions. It does make you happy and it does make you sad. one of the key things to remember is obviously the main actor, Robin Williams, has always been a person that's wanted to make people laugh. He's always been that comedian who makes people laugh. And it is quite a powerful story, to be fair, because at the start he wants to kill himself, and then he cheers himself up, and like he improves the quality of people's lives, and that's what he physically did in real life. He did improve the quality of people's life, even though this film was based off a true story, like a completely different person. Robin Williams was the sort of similar person to the character that he plays in the film. Not, I don't mean like a medical, like a medical student or anything like that. You know what I mean? Like, he's the sort of person who wants to entertain people, and he just doesn't. It's funny because he never once thought about himself. He always thought about other people before making himself happy, and I think that's unfortunately what happened within real life. He made himself happy before he made everyone else happy. But yeah, to further more onto that, watch it. Even though, as mentioned, my review wasn't amazing, but honestly, watch it. And I do. You know what? Probably shouldn't start it off with this, but I give it 5 out of 5. I give it 5 out of 5.
I'd agree with that. I think
5 out of 5.
it hits home even more now, knowing what actually happened to Robin Williams in his real life.
Exactly.
The fact that he actually did take his own life and he did feel that way. But it was a very similar situation where, he spent all his time making people laugh, and behind closed doors he was struggling. It hits home quite a lot, doesn't it? But yeah, it's just it's, you want to say it's a feel good film, but at the same time it does upset you. I'm not ashamed to say that when I first watched it, I sat in the living room bawling my eyes out when certain things happened. It just shook you. When you don't know what's coming, it really does. It like hits your heart. Like, oh my god! Like, has that really just happened?
I think one of the key things to like point out is the scene with Karen, the fact that she committed suicide. That's the one that shocked me the most. Like, because it was such like, I mean, the start of the film was all doom and gloom, but then it proceeds to like get better, and everything's all nice and happy because he's helping everyone and he's making everyone's quality of life much better.
Yeah.
And then to someone to just like shoot the love of his life, like, it's just crazy. Because he falls in love with her.
He does, yeah. He spends like 50% of the film just trying to ask her out, doesn't he?
Exactly. And one of the things you'll notice in the film is she holds some form of barrier up to prevent him like getting close to her. Because do you remember that she was like frightened to like let her guard down because of like her past, and that's one of the things that he mentioned. When he was leaving the hospitals and stuff. I know I didn't mention this before, but he does leave that. I think I did mention that he leaves the hospital. Yeah. But anyways, he leaves the hospital that he made because he couldn't cope with the death of a woman, of Karen. And one of the things he explains when he's talking to someone is the fact that she tried to not let her guard down, and she did. She let her guard down, and he didn't think about her decisions over his, sort of thing. Because as I mentioned at the start, it was basically Patch's word or nothing. It was either his way or nothing. Like, he took advice off people, but he didn't generally take that advice that he was given. But yeah. You further it on, go on, come on.
To be fair, Matt, I think you summed that up pretty well.
Pretty well? God, I think it was pretty bloody bad. I'm joking. But yeah, watch it. You'll not regret it. I mean, you will regret it because you're
Shauna says it's the butterfly that gets me.
Yeah, it is a bit sad, actually.
It does. It clutches the heartstrings and makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Could happen to anyone. So moving on from that then. Your film was Patch Adams.
That's a good review for you.
The film I was tasked in reviewing was the one and only Gran Torino. And hang on 1 second, where's my thinking going? See, I'm prepared.
Yeah, exactly.
So, right, Gran Torino. It was released in 2008, directed and main starred by the one and only Clint Eastwood, because you know the man's a legend, living legend. His co-stars are, to be fair, there weren't very many big name. Well, I don't think there really was any big name actors in the film with him. The main other protagonist in the film is an actor called B. Vang. He played the character called Tao, and then the priest, Father Janovich, is played by Christopher Carley, and then Tao's sister Sue, another one of the main characters, is played by an actress called Arnie Her. And to be fair, I think the only other noticeable thing she's been in was Batman vs Superman, and she played a hostage, so it wasn't very a main character in there. But I'll just kick off with the plot because I've gone into great detail. Again, like Matty said, if you haven't watched it, there's a lot of spoilers coming your way. So if you do want to turn it off and go watch it, obviously we're fine with that. Carry on doing what you're doing. So the movie starts off again in a quite a sad way. It's in a funeral service for Walt's wife. Within the first few moments of the film, you quickly get a taste for Walt's serious attitude. The fact that his grandkids are walking in and they're doing weird praises, and if he's grunting because he don't like what they're doing. Like his granddaughter walks in and she's in like a tank top and a bloody mini skirt, and you just hear him grunt like, oh god, like serious. It's very old fashioned, let's put it that way. Obviously this could be explained by the fact that he was a Korean War veteran, and obviously the war takes its toll on a lot of people in different ways. But after the funeral, they go back to Walt's house for the wake. Obviously we call it a wake, Americans, I don't know what they call it. But yeah, you get the first signs that he doesn't really have the best relationship with his family. He doesn't really talk to his sons very much. And he doesn't really seem to have any interest in what they are, what they're saying or anything. But also in this scene, you're introduced to his noisy neighbours. I think he labelled them at first. They are I can't say this word, a Hmong family. They're like from the Hmong region in Asia, which I think is like part of Thailand, China and Mongolia. But they live next door, and there's quite a few of them there. They're having a family party of their own. I think they're celebrating a small child that's been born into the family of some sort. But the main protagonist out of that family is the teenage son called Tao, who obviously is played by B. Vang. He seems to be the main target of the movie, other than Walt itself. He lives a bit of a strange life. He's quite secluded in himself. He doesn't really talk very much, and he's constantly getting harassed by his cousin. Obviously that they've called him his cousin. Whether they are actually cousins, I'm not sure. His cousin who runs a gang local to the area with a lot of different Hmong members, and they're constantly pressuring him to join this gang and do stuff that they want him to do, and eventually he just caves in because he's under that much pressure. And his main initiation task is to break in and steal the prized possession of Walt, which is a pristine 1972 Gran Torino, which is very rare, very expensive, and very hard to come by. Obviously, Tao being a teenager, he gets caught in the act because he wakes Walt in the middle of the night hearing a smashed window, and Walt comes blazing in with a with a rifle that he got from the Korean War, and obviously things happen. Walt threatens him, does whatever, but in the end, I think Walt actually moves towards him, trips over, and the gun goes off, and obviously that scares Tao, and Tao just bolts out the blue and runs off as fast as he can. And then a little bit later, it doesn't really say the time scale. It could have been a couple of days, couple of weeks, but Tao's cousins are back on the scene again. Tao's just sat in the garden doing some gardening work, and they come making fun of him, saying, "Oh, that's woman's work. You shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't be doing that." And then they start trying to force him into the car. And in doing so, they come across onto Walt's property, and obviously, him being an old school American war veteran didn't like this. He comes bursting out the house with the same rifle, threatening them to get off his property, else he's going to shoot them all. Obviously scares them all off, and Tao's family want to thank him for saving them and keeping Tao safe, so that they're constantly sending family and friends round to his house with flowers and food and baskets and everything, and he's like, leave me alone. But eventually he befriends the daughter of the family called Sue, and she convinces him to go to a family barbecue around their house, and you quickly see that his human side starts to come out, because he's normally very bitter, very sly in what he says. He just insults everyone. He's got like a no shite attitude, like, you know what I mean. He doesn't like anyone. He goes to the barbers and he's constantly having banter with the barber, saying that he's just a con artist or whatever, and then the barber calls him a tight arse and stuff like that. Quite funny banter, obviously, that generally would happen these days. So he makes quite a funny joke, which I've got to mention, because I think it was probably the only part of the film that actually made me laugh. Obviously, she invites him round to the barbecue, and he says, "Yeah, okay, but just leave my dog alone," which is obviously just another racist remark that they eat dogs. But she took it on the chin like a champ, and he goes round the barbecue, and he spends a lot of time with the Hmong family, even though he doesn't understand a word they're saying, other than the fact that he's sat in the kitchen table and they're just feeding him food. They just keep giving him food after food after food, and that he just seems to enjoy that more. But after that, Sue takes him downstairs into like this little basement where the kids of the family are having their own little party, and he bumps into Tao, and he notices that he's been staring at this girl, and keeps making contact with this a girl at the party, and he quickly basically gives him advice, or, well, I say gives him advice, calls him a pussy basically, and says, just get your shit together and go talk to her, stuff like that. But in that scene, it kind of shows, it quickly becomes like a father-son style relationship that he has with Tao. Because soon after, his family make Tao work for Walt to pay off the fact that he tried to steal his car. To say sorry, he has to go and work for Walt. And scene by scene, you basically see this relationship progress, and Walt becomes more of a father figure for Tao. Like he takes him to the barber shop to teach him how to talk tough. To have that banter instead of just talking normally. He walks in and calls him a fat Italian so-and-so and cut my hair. You know what I mean? He also teaches him how to fix the house. He's like fix the sink and fix the ceiling fan and stuff like that. Has him working in the garage with his car. He also gets him a job at a construction site, because he says that's what he'd like to do as a job. He knows a guy that runs a local construction site. He gets him a job there. He goes to takes him to the store, buys him all the tools that he needs and everything, like a true father would. And also, obviously, like, as kids do, they get into trouble, and Walt's always seems to be always there to bail him out. I think the reason why this relationship is such a focus in the movie is because Walt's he has a strained relationship with his own kids, his own sons that he doesn't really speak to, and obviously that's very prominent throughout the film. You soon find out towards the latter part of the film, because he confesses this to himself in the church with the priest, because he does a confession, which was his late wife's dying wish. Basically, she made the priest promise that he'd get Walt to confess, basically just to release the stress of and the mental stress of everything that happened during the war. Killing people and all that kind of stuff. So he confesses that he regrets not spending more time with his kids and being more of a father. He has two sons. The one you'd only see at the start and at the end. I'm not sure why that is, but you'd literally only see him at the funeral at the start and then at the end of the film. But his other son, which you see a couple of times throughout the film, basically just shows that they have got a lack of relationship, because he treats him like a burden. Suggests, like, on his birthday he goes around his house and gives him loads of leaflets to go to a care home just to try and get rid of him, because you can quite see that him and his wife are trying to get his house and his car and all his possessions. They buy him old people gifts, like a phone with massive buttons so he knows what number they are, and a bloody a litter picker so he can grab stuff off the floor without bending over. And obviously you slowly see Walt's face get angrier and angrier and angrier, to the point he just kicks them out of the house and says, "I don't want to talk to you again." Another main part of the film, which never gets confirmed, but it's very hinted, is the fact that you suspect that Walt is very ill throughout the film, because there's multiple times where he's coughing up blood, and he has trouble breathing, and he has to stop. There's one scene where he goes to the doctors and you see a medical document, but you don't actually see what it says. But obviously this leads you to suspect that maybe Walt is actually dying himself due to what happens next. You kind of get that feeling that he already knew what was going to happen all along. So a little bit later in the film, towards the latter parts anyway, Tao is walking home from work. He's got all his tools on him. He's carrying his hard hat in his hand. He's going home. He's had a good day at work. Blah 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 blah. And then he's walking down this alley, and turning the alley is his cousin and the gang in his little crappy Honda Civic with a black bonnet and spoiler. True little bad man car. They jump in, basically, attack him, rip all his tools off him, smash them all up, and to try and teach him a lesson, they use the end of a cigarette and burn a massive scar on his face. Obviously he goes home, Walt sees this and was like, well, what happened? Tao says what happened, and then Walt kind of loses it. Probably makes things worse, but he goes around one of the gang members' houses and beats the living crap out of him. And basically pulls a gun on him and threatens, leave him alone, else I'll come back here and kill you. Obviously the gang members don't react very well to this, so they decide to drive past Tao's house and do a drive-by shooting with fully automatic, what look like mini Uzis. They shoot up the house. Obviously Walt, in a panic, runs over to try and help. He runs inside. He sees that Tao's must have been hit by a bullet, because he's got a massive gash in his neck. And he's frantically trying to find out where Sue is. Tao says she was on her way to a friend's house. And then Tao makes a phone call and discovers that Sue never made it to her house. Obviously, which leads to a lot of panic to Sue's whereabouts. But after a little while, you hear a car screech away, and Sue walks up to the door. She's all battered and bruised, and her face is covered in blood. She's obviously attacked by the gang to try and teach the family a lesson. Later on in the film, we find out that she was actually raped as well. So she weren't just beaten up; she was taken advantage of. This happening was the final nail in the coffin for Walt, and straight away he starts planning an attack kind of thing. In his head, he knows what he's got to do. He wants to get revenge, as does Tao, because Tao's rather miffed off as well. But as Tao is, he's a young kid, he's naive. All he wanted to do was go in gung ho, all guns blazing, let's go, shoot them all. As in one scene, Walt sat on his table cleaning his guns, and Tao walks in and goes, "Oh, is this one mine?" And Walt soon talks him through, killing people isn't easy. It will basically, affect you for the rest of your life. So
As it should.
Yeah, damn right. So Walt wants to show him something in the basement. He shows him one of his old war medals for what he used to do, and then in doing so, he quickly runs upstairs and locks Tao in the basement so he can't get out. And this this scene is probably the worst acting I've ever seen in a film, because the Tao's acting was awful. He's basically shouting at Walt trying to get out this door, and Walt explains, you're young, you can't ruin your life, because once you kill one person, that's it, it'll haunt you for the rest of your life. And he tells him the stuff he did, and he killed a 17-year-old lad or whatever, and it's haunted him every day ever since. The only thing that happens now is that obviously the film seems to be building up to something, or as you think, oh, a massive battle's coming, Walt's gonna go in all guns blazing and start shooting up the house or whatever. But there's quite a twist at the end. It's quite an interesting twist. Walt walks up to the front door of this gangster's house, and he's talking to them, and he pulls out a pretend gun with his finger, and he starts shooting the bad guys with his pretend gun. And when you think he's gonna pull out a gun and start shooting, he just stands there and basically lets the gang kill him in cold blood. And obviously, as a viewer, you're like, what the hell? Like, the main character just died. Like, holy crap. But after this happening, it makes you think that it was actually a very clever ruse by Walt. That he's basically done it so everybody won. Obviously, the gang all got arrested, as you see in the film. The police take them all away, which means that Tao and his family are now safe. They ain't got to worry about any gang trying to take him away. Tao and Sue now both have their revenge. Obviously, that they've got to pay for their crimes now, basically, without having the consequence of a guilty conscience that they took someone's life. And obviously Walt is also at peace. One, because he fulfilled his dead wife's dying wish that he attended the confession, and also that the fact he was ill, and he was basically dying anyway, because the fact he was coughing up blood, obviously you'd assume he had something like lung cancer, which he probably weren't going to come back from anyway. So obviously he kind of killed two birds with one stone, quite literally. And then at the end of the film, there's one final twist, and it's after Walt's funeral. Um, they're in the solicitor's office, and he's reading the will, and obviously his sons are sat there all happy as Larry because they're finally getting his dad's house and all his possessions or whatever. But when he starts reading the will out, you find that he leaves his whole estate to the church, to honour his late wife, and the camera turns to his son. And yeah, it turns to his son and his daughter-in-law, and you see the look of disgust in their face, because obviously they wanted the house and they wanted the possessions. And obviously his daughter-in-law's rolling her eyes, saying, "Oh God, what have he done that for?" But then also, his granddaughter wanted his car, which obviously happened earlier in the film. She asks what he's gonna do with the car when he dies because she wanted it. But basically, he leaves the car, obviously his most prized possession. He leaves it to his newest friend Tao. Ironically, the lad that was trying to steal it, he leaves it to him. Obviously, it shows the character progression throughout the film of how much Clint Eastwood's character changed. It shows how much of a different person he was at the start to what he was at the end. But overall, I think, it was one of them films. I think if it didn't have Clint Eastwood in it, I don't think it would have been the film it was. His performance from directing and acting massively overshadowed the fact that there was some really bad acting in that film from multiple different characters, which, understandably, when you look at it, you can see why there haven't been any other notable film, because it wasn't the best acting I've ever seen in my life. But it's one of them films. It starts off very slow and it seems very long-winded. Like, you look back and you think, oh, we're an hour in, and you're like, well, what's happened? You can't really think what's happened. It kind of builds you up to what you think is going to be an exciting end, and then it's just a massive shock, which obviously, that is a good thing, that it builds you up, and then there's a big twist in there. But for me, I'd rate it a 3 out of 5. It was good, but there was a lot of shaky acting in there, which brought it down for me. Definitely, I think the clever writing and directing by Clint himself bring up what otherwise would have been a pretty bad film. I would recommend people to watch it, because obviously, people have their own opinions. I'd never say don't watch it. Definitely think people should watch it and make their own kind of judgment on it. But if you're the type of person that's wanting, a big battle or a big cliffhanger, then it's definitely not the film for you. So that's my review of Gran Torino. 3 out of 5.
It's funny when it comes to a film like that. I don't know about anyone else, and I don't know about you, Mike, but when I watch something like that, and you look at the sort of plot, right? And I know it's not exactly the same, but all these films give me like a Liam Neeson and a John Wick sort of vibe. Yeah. I think they're all similar in the aspects of, like, they've all got the reasons to, like, I don't know, like, protect one another. Like, he's there to protect, like, his daughter who gets kidnapped, or his wife that gets kidnapped. John Wick, in the sense that he's protecting himself, and he's trying to get revenge on people. And then, what else did I say? I said John Wick, and Taken and stuff. Yeah, I think they're all similar in all aspects, because, like, like I've just mentioned, it's all about getting revenge or saving
Yeah.
someone. Within Gran Torino, he's protecting Tao. He's protecting Tao's family. He tries to get revenge on them. Well, he does get revenge on them.
Well, yeah,
He gets revenge.
he gets revenge without having to kill anyone, which is
Yeah, exactly.
obviously a good thing.
Yeah. I think they are all similar. I'd agree with the 3.5. I would.
Yeah.
I don't think it's worth any more than that, to be fair.
I know. I was like really mixed with the ending. I thought, it was really clever in how it was done, but at the same time, I kind of got built up, and then it was like, oh, what the fuck, what happened?
She's dead.
Like it was like what actually happened? Like it was one of them. Like I was happy with it, but very unhappy at the same time.
Yeah. It gives off weird vibes because a portion of the film you're trying to understand what's actually physically happening, and then a portion of the film it leaves you thinking what the hell's just happened, like all of this for him to just die.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned, you didn't really have an idea if he was dying or not. It didn't really.
No, it never confirmed it, did it?
Yeah,
Obviously,
really.
Straight away when I was watching it, so I watched it last night, so it was fresh. But when I first seen him cough up blood, I immediately said to Finger, I says, he's got lung cancer. Straight away, he's got lung cancer.
Yeah.
He's ill. He's got lung cancer.
He's got one had something. But yeah. But I think it's better than Patch Adams. Definitely not.
No, nowhere
Definitely
near.
not.
For me, no chance.
It doesn't even get any close to being on the lines of that at all.
No.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty well. It's a much better explanation and plot than Mind Disaster. But see, you were one step ahead of me. You watched it again before to refresh your mind. Should have done that. I should have used my knowledge to do that. But
yeah,
cool. Practice makes perfect.
Let's see what Sean has put in the chat. She's put, Clint definitely makes the film. I know he's the main character, but without Clint's famous cocky humour he has in the majority of his films, it would have been poorer, which is true. I think the fact that he's very quick-witted and very racist and very sly, sarky comments. Like I like the what he said to the priest. You're just a 27-year-old who's living off, promising old granny's freedom or something like that, and then slams a door in his face. It was quite a funny thing to say, but that's the way he is, isn't he? He's quite short and thingy. Yeah, he's famous lip cringe. So
to be fair, like I mentioned to you before, and you wouldn't have heard this, but I've not really seen many of Clint Eastwood films. The only main films I've really seen is Gran Torino, Sully. I don't know if you knew, but Sully was in Sully, and American Sniper.
Yeah.
All different films. It's funny the differences in these films compared to one another.
He's obviously displayed that he's a very good director as well as an actor, because all these films he directs as well, and surely I'd assume that directing a film's quite stressful as it is without being the main character of the film as well. Yeah. I'm sure it's quite difficult to juggle the two, but he obviously has mastered that art, which you have to tip your hat to him. Not fair play. I don't think there's a lot of actors out there that could do both. Well, not at the same time anyway.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So, that's our reviews for this week.
Mine will be better next week. Don't worry, I can assure you of that.
Are we gonna choose what we want you to review next week? Because I already know what I want you to review next week.
So, Obviously we've all planned, everyone. We've all planned this before, actually. Well, it doesn't look like I've planned it very well, as much as Matty has, but yeah. But I've given Matty 3 different choices. I'm not giving him one. He's going to choose from the list. I've given him 3 ones. I gave him American Sniper. I gave him American Assassin. And what was the other one I gave you? Was one other.
One thingy over the cuckoo's nest, wasn't it?
The one who flew over the cuckoo's nest. As you can see, there are vast difference in film, like a completely different genre of film. To American Sniper and American Assassin are very similar. They're very similar, American Assassin and American Assassin.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. So you've got the choice out of them. Come on, hit me with your.
Yeah, so we'll find out what I review on Saturday. But the film I've chose for you to watch, you told me earlier that you didn't watch it, and straight away I was like, he's got to watch it. And I want you to review The Truman Show.
Okay. I've never heard of it.
It's a Jim Carrey film, but it's not the kind of Jim Carrey film you'd think. Obviously, if I told you it's a Jim Carrey film, straight away you think, oh, it's going to be funny, but it's a different sort of film that, you know, you wouldn't normally think Jim Carrey would do, but he does perform very well in it. Yeah. That's all I'll say.
Kevin, I'll have that.
Yes, that. well in the chat with the Burbsy Raw. Go on, son. It's been a very slow week of news in the whole gaming and movie world. There's not a lot happening with the old COVID going around. The only notable thing that I have found is the fact that I know I'm interested in. I don't know if anyone else is, but the new Godzilla film. The new Godzilla film, Godzilla vs Kong. The trailer is going to be released tomorrow. That is Sunday the 24th, obviously for people watching in the future. And it is also, the release has been brought forward 2 months, which is normally unheard of. Normally things are getting pushed back, especially, like you say, in this day and age with Corona. You would have thought it'd be pushed back a few bits, but it's actually been brought forward 2 months, and it's going to be the only place I can find it's going to be released at the minute is it's on a streaming service called HBO Max, which I think it's only in America, so
yeah.
In the UK it's going to be a little bit difficult. But it's going to be released on the 26th of March this year. I'm excited for it because I love the new Godzilla series, the latest 2 films. I'm very invested in that series, so it's quite interesting to see where it's going to go. Especially throwing King Kong into the mix and see what that big gorilla can do.
I know it, like compared to a nuclear lizard.
Yeah.
Oh god, I can't wait to see that. I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Is there any other films you're madly excited for in the near distant future?
To be fair, there isn't really any that spark a massive interest to me.
For me, there's Matty, you'll already know this. He knows what's coming. There's only one film I'm madly excited for.
Yeah.
It's Jurassic World Dominion. It's the only one that I'm really stoked about, or possibly Venom 2, because I don't know if you've seen. I know most of you will have seen Venom. Have you seen Venom, Matty?
I actually haven't watched it.
Oh, no way.
I've wanted to watch it, but I just never got around to doing it.
Well, there's a film to add on to the 4th, so you've got 4 films to choose from now.
Yeah.
Because I loved Venom. Venom was class. But yeah, that's the only one I'm madly excited for.
I say there's films keyed in to be released this year, but whether it's actually going to happen or not is a different story. Like, there's another Suicide Squad coming out. I did enjoy the first one of them. That was quite good. That's not expected till August. August the 6th. Obviously there's another Fast and Furious, Fast 9, which is due. It's expected the end of May, but again, whether that's going to come out or not, who knows? Obviously there's the new Batman film with what's his name? As the new Batman. What can't I think of his name? Robert Pattinson. That's it. Robert Pattinson's gonna be Batman, and I'm also excited to see Andy Serkis as Alfred, because I love Andy Serkis. He's one of the best actors there is, I think. As like his range, he can do a lot of different things, can't he?
Yeah.
As he's shown throughout his career.
I'm trying to think if I'd enjoy a Batman film with Robert Pattinson.
I know it's one of them. Do you see him as that kind of person, or are you just looking back seeing him as some, kid out of Hunger? What was it? Not Hunger Games. Twilight. That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, like, because I don't know if anyone's seen it, but Tenant, he wasn't Tenant. He played a really good part in Tenant.
Yeah.
That was it. He played a really good part in Tenant. But I can't. Personally, in my opinion, I'll be optimistic about it, but I can't see him being a good Batman. I really can't.
No.
In comparison to the rest of the other Batmans.
Yeah.
I can't see it happen. I really can't. It's like replacing like James Bond with like another bloke, like Daniel Craig. It's like replacing Daniel Craig for a different bloke. It's like,
well, obviously that has actually happened quite a few times.
Yeah, exactly. Like with the amount of times that we've seen Daniel Craig in the James Bonds, it's gonna be weird. It really is.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. I'm sure we'll definitely be optimistic.
Yeah. Obviously, there's quite a few Marvel films due to come out this year as well, isn't there?
Yeah.
There's the Black Widow film. She gets a standalone film, doesn't she? This year, there's the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Loki.
The new James Bond's meant to be this. Yeah.
Yeah. If it don't get pushed back again.
Yep.
There's also one called What If, which is a Marvel. Animation. We don't want to play that, do we? No. Yeah. That's an animation, that is. So it's interesting. It all just depends on what the situation is with COVID, and whether these production companies can actually carry on making the films, because surely all these aren't finished, and given the current situation, I'm sure it's quite difficult to actually get them done. So,
well, it's crazy because Jurassic World Dominion, they've completed it. They've finished filming.
Yeah.
Now they've pushed it back till 2022, I think it is, that they've pushed it back till.
I feel like they're just holding out for the cinemas to reopen, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly.
They don't want to do a digital release because then they'll lose out on money.
Oh, I can guarantee they'd make a fortune off me.
You'll probably be watching it 4 times, won't you?
Yeah, I'll have it on 4 different devices.
Walk out the cinema and walk straight back in.
Yep, exactly. But I don't know. It's just, it's a hard one.
Yeah.
Because of the year being so difficult, I can't see the cinemas pushing these out. I generally don't think it would be financially viable for these companies to push out films until COVID goes, to be fair. And I can't see that happening anytime soon. I
No,
really can't.
no. Let's not get into a discussion about COVID.
No,
I'm sure we've all
exactly.
heard enough about that, and we don't want to.
Mm.
We don't want to talk about that anymore. Yeah, positive vibes only.
Exactly.
That's where we are now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I think that is probably it for this week's podcast. Yeah, I'm thinking next week we will go back to the gaming side of things.
Mm-hmm.
We'll revisit what we discussed in last week's podcast, episode 1. We came up with our favourite games from each generation console. I think we're each gonna do a top 10. We'll do an individual top 10. So I'll do my top 10. Matty can do his top 10 of all time games. So not just one particular console, all time. So it could be anything.
Board games,
yeah.
GameCubes, everything.
Yeah, it could be anything. Obviously, we'll still do our reviews as we have done this week. Obviously, Matty will be doing the Truman Show, and I'll be doing one of them 3 that he gave me. American Sniper, American Assassin, or One Fly Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
The one who flew over the cuckoo's nest.
That's the one.
You can add Venom onto there now, so
yeah.
The 4th one.
So we've got a backlog.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
So expect them as well, and then we'll do our top 10 all-time favourite games as well. Yeah, so massive thank you to anyone that's sat in the stream now watching. I really appreciate it. I'm going to put a link in the chat for our YouTube channel, which obviously we stream every Saturday at 9 PM, or as close to as we possibly can. And then the day after, it's uploaded to YouTube, so anyone that missed it can watch it on there. Also, the link, as you can see, the links are on the screen. Follow us on Twitter, follow us on Facebook, and follow all on there. You'll get updates on when we're going live, when our videos are online, and all sorts. We post general discussions on the pages as well, so you can get involved that way. Will says you should do top 3 games consoles. We can do that at some point. That's no problem.
And if any of you have any I think we said this last week, but if any of you have any form of recommendation for films that you want us to watch, and I mean, I'll even put this out. Yeah, if we've already seen them, we'll watch them again to review.
If anyone wants us to review a certain film or a certain game, it could be, you review a game, TV shows, anything like that. Put it. Like I said, either tweet us, send us a message on Facebook, write it in the chat on Twitch when we're live, anything. And we're more than happy to accommodate and do that for you. That's what we're here for. We're here to
Jurassic Park.
You've watched enough. Like I said before, massively appreciate everyone sitting in the chat. Massively appreciate everyone on YouTube watching in the future, whenever it is you're watching. So a massive thank you from me.
And me as well. I do appreciate it. I appreciate you trying to stay gripped to my destruction of performance. But I mean, you get a basic synopsis of what mine was about. So even though it was a bit jumbled, you'll understand it. But yeah.
Shauna, grow up.
What did
Just
she
grow
say?
up. She wants us to review 50 Shades of Grey.
Absolutely.
I'm
on my way to Birmingham now.
Sound. Okay, so yeah, we'll end it there. Again, thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, follow us on Twitch, subscribe on Twitch, everything. Share with your friends. All the love is appreciated.
And if you want us to watch Jurassic Park,
to
start now.
We shall see you next week at Saturday, 9 PM sharp. Adios.
See you later.